Welcome to Puck Off A Podcast, where Tim and Larry take to the ice to hash out the hottest topics in the NHL and beyond. Get ready for some slapshot opinions and maybe a few offside calls along the way. Here are your hosts, Tim and Larry.
Welcome to episode 5, the last in the final division, the Atlantic Division. I'm Larry, and this is
Tim.
So we are both back here. This is going to be the biggest division of them all, where probably most of the moves happen this summer. So lots to talk about here. So we'll start off with the very top here, alphabetically, Boston Bruins. So Boston.
Yeah. They kind of entered a sort of a reset mode, after they traded Brad Marchand shockingly to the Panthers last deadline.
Yeah, I don't think too many people saw that happening.
I know I was shocked. I remember actually being in my basement during the trade deadline and seeing that pop on my screen, and I kind of freaked out a little bit. And of course, life was a little excited being a Panthers fan. So,
yeah, it's just like when I first saw it on X, I was like, is this Eklund reporting this? Because there's no way it's happening. And I'm like, oh, no, it is actually happening. And I'm just like, oh, my goodness, like, what a steal for Florida. And obviously, they won the Stanley Cup, and that was probably the biggest thing that they did that got them that cup, the second cup, because Marchand was a beast in the playoffs.
Yeah, and then he decided to stay there, too. He loved it so much that he's staying there for a little bit longer. It's re-signing in Florida, and he's definitely a game changer. I honestly am still shocked that Boston actually did it. They actually moved Brad Marchand. It does make sense that they moved him because their team is in that reset, retool mode. But being always a Boston Bruin, it's hard to see him get moved, right?
Oh, 100%. And basically within the division and against your rivals that are like basically already loaded as it is. So I think it's just the sign of it's time to retool, or at this point, probably rebuild in Boston. So, and David Pastrnak just signed his long contract, and he's like, "Yep, we're going to a rebuild now." So,
yeah, like they're going to bring back their first line from last year, right? Like with Pastrnak, Lindholm, and Geekie. But after that, it's a pretty steep drop off with this retool for them. They do have some nice young prospects still coming around, but definitely not expecting them to do a whole lot this season.
No, I think it's their turn to finally take a step back. It's been a while, but they did make a few signings, but I think the biggest one is Tanner Jeannot again. Like, he gave him $3.4 million, a good tough guy, a decent bottom 6 player, but it's just like, it's getting paid more than some of the bottom 6 players on some of the best teams, or even some of the worst teams that need to get to the cap, which just kind of shocked at that amount.
Yeah, and like, what do you make of this Pavel Zacha stuff? Like, there's been tons of talk about moving him, even going back to last year's deadline, right? And there's still lots of talk if he's going to get moved or not. He's a clear-cut second-line center, and he's only 28 years old with still a couple years left on his contract. Like, teams have definitely got to have interest in him. It's just a matter of what the price is to get him out of there.
Yeah, well, if Boston's going to start slow, then you're going to see Zacha possibly traded. You maybe see Arvidsson, because he's in his last year of his contract too, and he's right in his prime. So, and he can play both wings, so he'd be an attractive option at the deadline. So I think Boston's going to play and see how it goes, but I think they're going to be in that rebuild. And then the biggest thing that came out just a few days ago is like, who is Boston going to keep up as their goalies? So you got Korpisalo, you got Swayman, and you got DiPietro as a good prospect for him, but DiPietro has to go through waivers, and I don't know if he's going to get through waivers. So what do? It's like, you can't trade Swayman. You just signed him and at $8.25 million. Korpisalo, yeah, you could probably put him on waivers, but you want to be paying a goalie $3 million in the minors? Probably not. So
yeah, like, talking a little bit about DiPietro, like look at his stats from the AHL last year, right? Yeah, I know it's in the minors, but a 2.05 goals against and a 927 save percentage over 40 games. That's some stellar hockey played by him. And then going into the playoffs, he even got even better. He only went
Yep.
1.85 goals against average with a 928. Like,
And
definitely he's
this
developing and he's playing good hockey in the minors. Does that translate to the NHL? I don't know.
goalies take longer to develop, and he's a Canuck guy, so you should know about him.
Yes.
Or,
I was a fan of his before he got moved out, but he never really developed much in Vancouver. Vancouver had a lot of young goalies too, right? So they had to kind of pick and choose who they were going to keep. And unfortunately, DiPietro was one of the ones they moved out, and he ends up in Boston. So,
your arch enemy.
yes, exactly.
So yeah, I don't know what's gonna happen. Either they carry 3 goalies somehow and make that work, or maybe you're gonna see Corpusala move here because if they can find somebody for a trade for him, it's only costing
Edmonton.
$3 million, but
Edmonton.
yeah, but Edmonton needs a better goalie. They might as well keep Skinner or just go with Skinner and Picard at that point, because why would you get Corpusala? It's the same thing.
That's fair.
But yeah,
That's fair.
but I think Boston, their defense is still really good. Like, it's not terrible. It's just where's
No, not at all.
the scoring gonna come from? Is Pasternak gonna hit 100 goals this year? It's like basically you got to get to the high 250s in goals to be challenging for the playoffs, and I don't think they have 250 plus goals on this roster.
Last year, they only had 3 guys over 20 goals, right? And then they traded one away with being Brad Marchand. So now it's just Pasternak and Geeky, which are both your top line players. After that, it's a bit of a drop off.
Yeah, I don't know. I think this is the year that Boston's like, okay, well, or if they take that step back, I think they're going to have a bit of a fire sale, restock the cupboards, maybe not go for picks. Maybe they'll go for prospects, just try to build in there. And then maybe they're in the McDavid hunt because they're going to have lots of room.
Yeah, they do have
If
a couple like young pieces, right? But yeah, like you said, maybe they're gonna have to do a little sell off at the trade deadline and get some more assets because that forward group could definitely use some more help. Defense, like you said, though, it's definitely a good defense. It's just that forward group is not screaming a whole lot of goal scoring.
No. So we'll see. Like, I don't expect them to make the playoffs. I don't think either one of us do. I don't even think they expect it. They just expect to see how the year goes and go from there. Because if they're at the bottom, they're going to fire sale it and they're going to go for lottery pick 100%. Because
Yes, definitely.
I think they own Toronto's and they own their first this year. So they have 2 first round picks, which is good. So we'll start stocking up those cupboards.
Yep.
But yeah, otherwise that's pretty much it. Like, they got Geeky re-signed too, so I got him at a really good cap hit for the next 6 years at 5.5. So that's good for them. But the problem is, if you start going in a rebuild, these guys that are in the 28 to 32 range, they're not going to make it out of the rebuild because they're going to be too old at that point. So why are you going to keep them at this point? So like Azaka is 28, Arvidsson is 32. You got Lindholm that just hit 30. You signed him. Like, you need a top line center, I guess. But I just think some of these guys, there's no point of keeping them if you're going to go in a rebuild because you're just going to waste the asset. You're going to waste their best years on a rebuilding team. And I'm pretty sure they don't want to be playing in a rebuild if that's the case too. So Boston's got some things they have to work to figure out and make decisions on, but I think that's how they'll get to see how the season starts. Maybe they start really good somehow again. You never know. Last year, I didn't think they'd be that good, and look what happened. They challenged for a playoff spot. So, but anyway,
Right.
we'll move on to the next team, the Buffalo Sabres. I'm excited for Buffalo.
You know what? Every year, like you look at Buffalo's roster, they got some nice pieces, and they just for some reason can't click, right? But maybe they finally break out of that slump. Like they got a lot of good young talent, and to me, like there's no reason why they shouldn't be competing every single night, but they just can't seem to put it together.
Well, they got your top line center now is Josh Norris that they traded for. If he can stay healthy, he's a really good player. And then the if part is staying healthy. But I think Buffalo's kind of worked it together. They're just like, they were all over the place. They're like, oh, let's get Jeff Skinner and put him here. Oh, we're going to get trade for Alex Tuck. And it's like, okay, that's great there. And then it's just like, they don't know what they're just trying to fill holes. They didn't have an identity. So I think that was the problem with the team here. So their defense is definitely a lot better now, though. So they got
they brought in
Kesselring
right?
brought in, so that helps on defense there. I think they're really tall, really big, so it's going to be hard to get to that front of the net this year for Buffalo. And then UPL is a goaltender. I'm a big fan of his. I think he's going to have a breakout year this year. And then Alex Lyon is definitely a really good backup there too. They didn't have the best year last year, but I think they'll both bounce back. So Josh Doan, they brought Josh Doan in from Utah. I think that's a good pickup. He's not going to blow off anything like for 30 goals this year, but I think he's going to help that bottom six for sure. So it's going to be an interesting year from Buffalo.
Yeah, like I really like their right side when you got guys like Paige Thompson and Alex Tuck, even Jordan Greenway and Justin Danforth. Like, to me, that's awesome. 4 right wingers. Paige Thompson obviously speaks for himself when you just look at the stat sheet. Alex Tuck, like I've been a fan of his since he was playing with the Knights. He's a big body, plays that prototypical like power forward role, right? And he can score those goals. So he'll be fun to watch again this year in Buffalo, and hopefully they can finally put this together. That defense being so young and talented too, like I'd hate to see them waste some years of Darlene, Power, and Byram. Like,
yeah, like
they need to start putting it together. Those are 3 star defensemen that are wasting years away. So,
yeah, I think it's definitely going to be interesting. I think Buffalo's going to challenge for a spot. I think they're going to be right there with the Detroit, and it's going to be a cluster jam right there. I think you got Detroit, you got Ottawa, you got Toronto, you got Buffalo. It's going to be right there this year finally, I think. Montreal. So like all of these 5 teams on any, like, I think the standings are going to be moving lots because it's going to be really tight because there's teams that are a little bit better, but they're all kind of in that same kind of point range, I feel like, when they end the season. So it's going to be a jam to go all the way to the end, where I think it's going to be to the very last game of the last night where you'll find out who makes it, who doesn't, just like this year kind of. But yeah, I think Buffalo, I think the most exciting times when I watched the Sabres was when they had Pominville, Afenagenoff, and Satan and all this. Like, it was a scoring machine at that point, but they were really fun to watch. They might not have that identity right now, but I think it's going to be as they keep developing. I think their defense and goaltending is good. If they can get a couple more scorers, get some more scoring to the top 6 there, I think they're going to be a team that's finally going to come out of the rebuild and maybe break their playoff drought. Maybe this year, maybe next year. I don't know. Be hard for them to make it this year, I think, but they'll be right there, I think.
Definitely.
All right, who's next?
Detroit, Hockey Town.
It's Stevie Y. I don't know what he's doing. I honestly don't. He's just obsessed with former Ottawa players right now.
Yeah, they got John Gibson this offseason, so.
Yeah, they got Gibson. They signed Bernard Docker from Buffalo, who didn't qualify, which I think was kind of stupid because he would have been a reliable bottom pair defenseman, but they wanted to go with someone else, which is fair. And then they get Travis Hamonic. They actually gave him a contract 1 year at $1 million. So basically, they got Ottawa's bottom pairing defenseman to start last year to be their bottom pair defenseman this year, which I think is just kind of funny. Just Hamonic was not good last year, and I think he's expired at this point. Like, he's just not himself. But maybe Stevie Y knows something we don't.
Yeah,
But what
I
else?
don't know what they're doing here. Like it's just hard to piece it all together when they're bringing in like guys like James Van Riemsdyk, Mason Appleton, and stuff like that. And like you mentioned already, Travis Hamonic and Jacob Docker. Like, yeah, maybe he's just trying to fill holes right now while his young guys are developing. But yeah, it's definitely not screaming a super competitive hockey team right now.
Yeah, it's just really weird. If you look at their roster, so they brought in DeBrincat and Kane, so former Chicago players. They got Appleton and Kopp down that probably that third line, former Jets players. On freaking defense, they got Hamonic and Bernard Docker. So it's like they're taking pairs from other teams and just filling in holes. I think it's just kind of funny. But and they got Austin Watson too. I forgot. Which I think is
Yes,
funny
that's right.
too. Austin Watson owned Detroit, so they're like, no more of this crap. We're gonna sign him. It's the only team he could play against. When I watched him with Ottawa. We played a back to back against Detroit a couple years ago, and he had like 3 goals in 2 games against them. He was just, I don't know what it is, but you can't beat him, sign him, I guess. But
Yeah, this is going to be Detroit's first season with Todd McClellan at the helm too, right, for the full season. So
yep.
see what he can bring there. But Detroit's definitely not one of the teams I'm looking at to make a whole lot of noise, and not a team that I really plan on watching a whole lot of games of, just because it's not looking too appealing to me. Lucas Raymond is definitely a talent, and Dylan Larkin, but yeah,
Well, you got Raymond, you
not a
got
fan of this
Larkin,
roster.
you still got DeBrincat and Kane who can contribute. You still got they did James Van Riemsdyk this year. I don't think he's going to contribute as that much at this point, but he's going to bring that experience. Like, I think Detroit's still a good team. Like, did they get better than last year? Maybe a little, but I don't really like. I think Gibson's going to be the difference if he can get back to form. And then they got Cam Talbot just in case if that goes south. And I don't know. It's an interesting roster. I think they're going to do good. I just don't know if they're a playoff team. They're going to be in that bubble area with Buffalo.
Yeah, I don't even think they're going to be close to the playoffs.
Like, I feel like Detroit's going to be over 500. I think everybody except for Boston in this division could be over 500 this year. So, or right around the 500 mark for win percentage or just over. Like, typically, I don't think you would see Buffalo in that mix, but I think they're going to be better this year. I just have this feeling. But yeah, we'll have to see because Detroit's definitely going to be an interesting thing to see. And they have a little bit of room to add too. So if they need something, they can add it. So I don't know. I'm going to see their cap spots. If I remember right, they have a decent amount of room. Yeah, they have $12 million in cap space. So they have room to add something too, which is good. Like that's the biggest offseason or plus for them is that if they need a big piece, they can add it. They have the farm system, they have draft picks, they have their first, they have their second. So they can add a piece in here to make themselves a contender for the playoffs for sure. So I think that's the one thing that we have to keep an eye out for. So if there's a trade to be had, I think Stevie Y will definitely pull the string on it if he thinks the team's going to be there.
Okay, moving on. Guess we'll go on to the 2-time defending Stanley Cup champs, the Panthers.
Yeah, fuck the Panthers. Oh, and I learned something here. Me and a buddy were talking last night. We just found out that because you can't be over the cap for the playoffs. I thought that started when the new CBA kicked in. It actually starts in this year. So you can't be over the cap in the playoffs for the 2026 playoffs. So here is the thing with the Panthers. So Barkov's out like 9 months. If everything goes well, he could be back for the playoffs. But I think there's a rule that I read that basically said if Barkov is ruled ineligible for the season and the playoffs, the Florida Panthers have an extra $10 million in space. If
Huh.
he's eligible for the playoffs, they only have like 3 million or something like that. So they have to make the decision on Barkov if they want him possibly back to the playoffs. They have to say that he's still eligible to play or possibly play. If they deem him out for the season, they have $10 million to go out and spend right now. So they can do that at any point up to the trade deadline, I think it said. It's really weird. The new CBA and the old CBA all mashing together. It's trying to figure out if it all the rules together, like I don't even know anymore. So I'm gonna wait for the experts to kind of explain that. But I saw that with Puckpedia today. They said that something with Barkov about if he's deemed ineligible for the whole year, they have $10 million of cap relief. If he says he's still eligible to play this year, if he's back, then he only get 3 million. So because they don't have Tkachuk, they don't have Barkov. That's two of their two top line forwards out. So
Yeah, but they're so deep it won't even matter. Like they just got to weather the storm until Tkachuk gets back. You still have Verhaeghe, Bennett, Reinhart, Rodriguez, Marchand, and Lundell. Like the list goes on and on and on. And then going into their defense, like they'll weather the storm until Tkachuk gets back, and then Tkachuk will help lead the charge. And I fully expect hopefully Barkov to be ready for playoffs, and Barkov comes back playoffs, and they go for another deep run. Like you can't count this team out. This team is unreal.
Oh no, I'm not counting them out, but I just wonder what their start's going to be like because I think Florida is that team that's like one of those teams that's like, okay, we're not shooting for first in the division or first in the conference. We're going for get to the playoffs, stay rested, and battle it off then. So might not have that wiggle room this year. If they get off to a bad start, they might have to play hard and just to stay in that race.
I think they'll be fine to stay up there even without Tkachuk and Barkov. Like I mentioned before, like they just have so much depth, and like their defense is just it's not even fair when you look at that roster. It's like a cheat code. So they're so deep. Like really, they come into December even just a little bit over 500, which I'm willing to put a lot of money on. Before Tkachuk gets back, they'll be laughing. They'll be in good shape and they'll do what Panthers always do, and you just plug away, and they get to the playoffs, and then they show their darker side, and they just light it up, right?
Yeah, well, they've done it twice, so you can't ever count them out at this point right now. And then signing everybody long term like that, getting them for cheaper, and it's like, oh, it's because they want to be here. They're like, no, because you're non-tax state, so they can take less and make more. So of course, like. It's a cheat code, like you said.
Yeah. Well, on top of that is like winning is contagious, right? Like if you're winning, of course you want to be there and you're willing to take cheaper money because you want to win.
Yeah.
Right? Like, are you going to take $5 million to go play on a winning team, or are you going to take $7 million to go be a bottom feeder team? I know where I would pick. Like,
yeah,
everybody's playing to win the cup, and they all want to be in the playoffs. Even if you won it a couple times, like these boys have already, you're still you got that itch to keep winning, right, and keep building that dynasty.
Yeah, I think they're all win now mode. So once everything trails off, they're going to be in a rebuild again. Maybe not as bad a rebuild as before because more people are now lured to go to Florida, so they can always keep adding in those free agents, just kind of like how Tampa Bay's done over the years. So I think they're always going to stay competitive, but yeah, I think they're the team to beat this year again. If Barkov
we
comes
forgot
back.
to mention it's about Ekblad's suspension. I forgot about that. Ekblad missing 20 games, right? That's beginning of the year.
Oh yes, you're right.
So I totally forgot about that. There's another piece. So they're going to start off the season, no Barkov, no Tkachuk, no Ekblad. Still, I stand by what I said. I'm not concerned about them. But yeah, you're missing a lot of key pieces for the first couple months. So the other guy's going to pick up the slack, but they got so much depth, though. They'll make it work.
If they can stay 500, then it'll help. Yeah. Just that Barkov, it's going to be interesting. I think Florida's going to make a big splash at the deadline. If they'd seem, Barkov's not going to be back for the playoffs, they're gonna pull in top line player here. So we'll have to
Yep,
see,
they'll
because
find
they
a
don't
way.
really care. They don't really care about their first round picks at this point. They're just like, whatever, just like trade them away, win now, become a dynasty. That's most important.
Yeah.
So
But why would you care about your first round picks when you got guys like Verhaeghe, Bennett, Reinhardt, Barkov, all these guys signed long term? You don't need to worry about your first round picks right now.
yeah, 100%. I think it's going to be interesting. We'll see what kind of start they get to, because I'm hoping they kind of fall off and have to play catch up, and then that makes it a little bit easier maybe in the playoffs to beat them, because they're going to be. I don't want them to be well rested. I don't want them floating into the playoffs again like they did last year and be rested and able to just destroy again. Like that's what's really good about Paul Maurice. He knows when to rest his players, knows when to say, hey, okay, like you guys, you need to take some games off, get ready, because we need you in the playoffs. We don't need you to beat Chicago in game 78 of the season to move up one spot in the standings. It doesn't matter to us.
Yep. Paul takes his time off here and right next to us in Kenora, and only an hour and a half away. We had a couple of friends actually send us pictures of seeing him at the farmers market down in Kenora here a couple times throughout the summer.
Yeah. Bill Paul Maurice, miss him in Winnipeg.
Yep.
But
Hey,
his prediction didn't come true. Winnipeg didn't win the cup this year. He wanted them to win it next. Didn't happen.
yeah, he got
He won
greedy.
it
He
again.
wanted another one.
You got to go for the three-peat now. You got two. You got to go for three.
Yeah.
And then you got to go for four. And then you got to get five in a row. So it's
Eventually, Winnipeg. Come back to Winnipeg, Paul. We need you.
yeah. I don't know. I think Florida's the team to beat this year, but I don't know if they're going to make it this year. I think it's some of these teams have looked at what they're doing and they know. And I think if they're the front office of these teams, like the Carolinas, the Torontos, the Tampa Bay Lightning, they're like, hey, okay, Florida's winning because of this. To beat them, we have to do this. And I think some of the changes in this division this year is because of what Florida's done. So I think they're trying to say, okay, we need to do this, this, and this if we want to beat them. Because if we don't beat them, it's or if we can beat Florida, whoever beats Florida in this division has a good chance at Stanley Cup. So that's the team you got to get by.
Definitely.
Moving on next, Montreal Canadiens. Good old Patrick Laine.
Well, I saw a video of him today. He was staying on the ice a little bit longer after camp there to practice his shot. I like
Yeah.
Patrick Laine. I always have. So I honestly think he's a super talented player, and I'm hoping like that line of him, Kirby Doc, and Demonov do work together. And I'm intrigued to watch Montreal this season.
Oh yeah, 100%. I think it's gonna be it's definitely gonna be a interesting thing. Their winger depth is very surprisingly really good. So you got Caulfield and Slafkovsky on the left and right wings. You have Gallagher and Demidov. Then you got Anderson and Laine. Like that, those are pretty good wingers, I would say. Down the center,
Definitely.
you got Suzuki's really good. And then that's where it falls off after there. It's like Kirby Doc, who's not been healthy, who's not been very good in there. New Hook, very serviceable. Bottom two centerman, which is he's
Same
decent.
with Evans, right? Like Evans is very good in the bottom six.
Yeah, I think Montreal is like a really good centerman away from going up. They fixed the defense on the right side, so you had Hudson, and now you got Dobson, so which like actually knocked Hudson down a notch, which is probably good for him, not going against the tougher competition now.
Yeah,
He did really good last year, but like I was saying, I think that Noah Dobson is going to bring more stability to that side. And then Matherson was really good last year. Goulet was really good, and then fucking
Wi-Fi.
yeah, Wi-Fi guy.
Don't
Jack
even try to say his name.
at the time of this recording, Ottawa's playing Montreal in the preseason, and apparently Jack has got his mouth running already and saying that it's like next time I see that to Chuck, I'm gonna show bully him around and fight him and everything, and I'm just like, oh, here we go. The good news is they're resting the top line today, so he's not going to see Ditchuk. But I think that's I love Jack Guy. I love what he brings. It's definitely he made Montreal exciting to watch. Just kind of like one guy we didn't actually mention when we were talking last show was Rempe and the Rangers. So I think those guys, there's still a place for them in the game. I love watching those enforcers and the guys that stir things up. Makes the game more entertaining, especially if it's dry.
It keeps the other team's head on a swivel, right? They're a little bit more cautious to go into the corners or grab those pucks. They're watching behind them, see what's coming, and they're trying to make quicker decisions so they don't take that run at them, right? So
yeah, and I think Demidov, just like you said, I'm excited to see what he does this year because I think he's gonna
a full season and build some chemistry. Maybe it's Kirby Dach. Maybe he does build chemistry with him, and Kirby can come back to the way we know how he was back in Chicago and stays healthy. Maybe he builds that chemistry with Line A. I don't know, but I am very excited to watch a full season of Demidov. I think that's going to be fun to watch. And then you still got Suzuki and Caulfield that are always fun to watch.
Yeah, I think Caulfield and Suzuki are locked. Those guys have played with each other. Sokovsky could drop down a line, maybe play with a Kirby Dach if he's healthy.
I'm probably sounding like a closet Montreal fan, which I'm not for the record, but I will be cheering for them a little bit.
Yeah, and as much as I hate Gallagher, I do like what he brings. He does make it exciting. Like I said, Jack Guy, Gallagher. Gallagher, I think, is getting. I feel bad for him because he does play the game hard. He's had some bad luck with injuries, and I think he deserves to be on a team that gets a chance at the Cup. So I don't know if Montreal can get that second line centerman and stay healthy, they're definitely going to be dangerous this year. I don't know. We'll have to see. It's going to be a weird one. Either they'll finish about the same and maybe make the playoffs in a wild card spot. Maybe they finish a bit higher. Maybe they finish a bit lower. I don't know. It's just a wait and kind of see thing. And I think that depends on Kirby Dach's health and if he can get back to playing a better game, because if they don't, then like Suzuki can't keep carrying the team. Like they barely made the playoffs, and that was because Caulfield and Suzuki just went crazy last year, the last 20 games there. And they just I think they had one of the best winning percentages just to make sure they got to the playoffs.
Yeah, they really need Kirby Dach to get back to being that exceptional two-way center, right? It's like his playmaking needs to come back, and he definitely needs to use that hands and creativity that made him the hockey player that he was. So,
yeah, I don't think he's shown that. He hasn't shown that in Montreal yet. Like this is the fourth. When you get traded like 2 or 3 years ago, I remember that trade. They traded up. Yeah, they traded the pick and Romanov, and then they traded Romanov for a first round pick from the Islanders, and they took that pick and moved, and then 2 first round picks, traded it to Chicago for Kirby Dach.
Yeah. In
Montreal, which was crazy too, because Montreal fans are like, "Oh no, what did we do?" But
hopefully Kirby Dach can start putting it together, because really he has not been the player that everybody expected him to be in the NHL. But again, like you mentioned already, it's the injuries that have really set him back. So
he's only 24 too, so he's still got some time to redeem himself. But it's kind of like a Josh Norris thing. It's like you need to be healthy to be good. You're no good to the team in the press box.
Yeah.
Okay, on to the next team. What's the next team?
Take it away, Sens fans.
Yes, I am a Sens fan, but I'm a realist too. So I never wished bad for a hockey player, obviously, because I feel bad for Barkov. He literally just twisted his leg a little bit and he's out for 9 months. That sucks. But that is great news for the Ottawa Senators, because losing a big guy like that, and it's going to be such a clusterfuck of a battle, that just helps Ottawa maybe get an extra 2, 3, 4 points that they couldn't win, or Florida can't win without him. So I think this sets Ottawa up for a chance to maybe even, at this point, I was saying finish maybe third or second in the division. depending on Tampa now, I think Ottawa and Tampa Bay might be those top two teams in the division, depending on what happens with Florida, because like Ottawa was good down the stretch. Like they're getting better. And I think the one thing that I love that I see you don't see around with a lot of other NHL teams, if you look at their roster, what the players are making, when this cap goes up, they're going to have a lot of room, and they can keep the same team they have right now, basically, and have enough room to add two, like anywhere between 2 or 3 top players on this team. Like they're going to have around that $20 million in cap space. That's going to be crazy. So you can just plug, if Giroux decides to finally retire, you just plug in a $10 million winger you could sign through free agency and add 30, 40 goals, which is crazy. So that's my most exciting thing. I think I'm waiting for next year. Hopefully that cap goes way up and see what happens there. But for this year, yeah, I think they're going to get off to a good start. There's not really much I want to really say. It's just like it's the same team as last year. They brought back pretty much everybody at this point.
I want to go back to Giroux for a second, though. Go back to Giroux for a second. So Claude Giroux resigns for $2 million. I know there's a bunch of bonuses in that contract too, but credit to him. I'm almost certain he could have got a way better contract anywhere else, but he decided to stay in Ottawa. He wants to be a part of Ottawa, and he took. I think it's a hefty discount. I think he could have probably got that $4 or $5 million somewhere else. I don't know what your thoughts are, being the guy that watches them every night. But to me, anytime I watched him, I thought he was at least a $4 to $5 million player.
He scored 50 plus points last year, so he could have easily got $5-6 million on probably a 2 or 3 year deal somewhere, guaranteed. He took
That's
the
37 years
deal.
old.
Yeah, I think he's he's a family guy now at this point. Like, think about yourself. It's like if you have a chance to play work, if your work is playing hockey at the National Hockey League level, and you can literally drive 10 minutes down the road and go to work, that's a great feeling, and be around your kids and your family more. They don't have to move schools. They don't have to move you don't have to worry about your wife not having support because they're from the Ottawa area there. Like, I think that's the biggest thing. He's a family guy. He says his family comes first, and that's what I think his family wanted. Like, so he's not going to make an extra 2-3 million somewhere else if it's going to put those things at risk. So that's the reason why he stayed. It's not because I don't think it's more or less like he believes in the team, but he could have signed in Colorado and it's like, okay, you got a really good chance at a cup, or hell, he could have signed in Florida and it's like, now you got a really good chance at a cup. So I think it's family came first in this one, and that's why it's only a 1 year deal, because it still opens up that for if I want to go for a cup run, and I don't believe Ottawa is going to be there this year, and he has that opportunity. But he's definitely here, happy 100% that he's still here. I think, and then I think Drew is going to be a lot of people think, he's going to be a third line player this year. I'm like, then you don't know who Claude Giroux is. Like, he's got intensity to him. He's on fire. He's playing as if he's going to be that top line winger again this year. So I don't expect. Go ahead.
If he's playing third line minutes, it's because Zetterlund and Batherson are playing unreal.
Well, Batherson's hurt to start, so he's not going to be.
There you go.
So
there you go. There's a spot for Giroux right there to slide up, right?
Yeah, I still think he's going to play Stützle and Tkachuk still. Like, the line works. Why, unless Giroux seems slower or his game's off, why take him off there at this point? Zetterlund is going to bring some, like, Batherson and Cousins were playing together. So when Batherson comes back, if you add Zetterlund, who's a fast little speedy guy on that line, that's great to add some speed to that line. So you got Stützle on the top line, you got Zetterlund that gives more speed to the second line. I think that's what you see. And then Ottawa just has more problems because you got Shane Pinto on the third line, and he's way better than a third line center. So they're like, hey, maybe we put Pinto up on the wing with Tkachuk and Stützle. They got lots of options, which I like. So more depth.
I really like their slight addition of Lars Eller too for that fourth line center spot. He's very solid as a two-way centerman at the bottom, right? He produces a couple points here and there when needed, but he's
Yep.
always just quietly does his job.
Yep. And then you got Mr. Ridley Gregg, becoming one of my favorite players. Is just like basically Chris Neal 2.0.
Mr. Slapshot.
They're doing a bobblehead night this year, a promo night. They just
Yeah.
screwed up one thing. So the bobblehead of Ridley Gregg taking a slap shot in the empty net. That's the bobblehead. But they didn't do it when the Leafs were in town. If they would have done the night with the Leafs in town, it would have been great.
Sorry, Leaf fans.
Yeah, I know. Imagine being a Leaf fan. Oh, it's bobblehead night. Oh, I get a free bobblehead, and that's what you get. They'd be like, fuck.
Just slap shot into the empty net. Oh, classic moment.
Yeah, with my team, though, I think Jordan Spence was a great pickup. I think I love the defense now. Like, it is solid as long as Jensen's almost back now, which is great. So I think Ottawa's defense is really good. Merrilainen surprised me last year. He played really good. If he can keep that up with Allmark, I think the goaltending's great. I'm just worried about putting a few more pucks in the net, so we'll have to see what happens there. That's their only downfall. So if they have $4 million in room, so you need to add a goal scorer, they can do that. But maybe that they took a defense first kind of trajectory last year. That's what they're working on, is we want to play better defensively, which they did. So once they get that down, which I think they did last year, now focus on creating more offense with that. So because they should have scored a lot more goals last year, but they didn't. They sucked 5-on-5, but their power play was amazing. Penalty kill was good. Shorthanded was good. Just 5-on-5 play need to improve. So that's their biggest question mark. So if they don't improve that, then they're going to be battling this year again. But otherwise, yeah, that's pretty much it for their. I don't like talking about my team as much at this point. So
Okay, we'll move on then. We'll go to Tampa.
Tampa Bay. Yeah. Florida 2.0.
Yeah, exactly.
Win fucking 2 Stanley Cups, and then Panthers win 2 fucking Stanley Cups.
Who's bringing?
I have a person I talked to online, and he thinks this is where if McDavid does leave, he thinks McDavid's going to land here. Not going to mention his name because I don't have my permission to, but he doesn't know I'm doing this podcast yet, which is kind of funny because I don't want him to critique me. But he thinks this is where McDavid. Yeah, and we're gonna have an episode about McDavid. I want to
we'll talk about him for a solid half an hour one night. But Tampa, like, what do you say? Like, it's just like you said, it's Florida 2.0, just solid team all around. Like, that top 6 is just scary. Well, top 9 even. It's just absolutely scary. And then their defense is just as scary. Like, there's nothing. What do you critique them on? And then you got Cooper as the coach, right? Like, the team's just solid all the way through. Forwards, defense, goaltending, coaching.
I'll find a critique. Here's my critique. What is going on with Vasilevsky lately? This guy was the top goaltender in the league, and I feel like he's kind of dropping off. Which I don't know. Like, he hasn't been spectacular. Like, I want to see his numbers right now. I feel like his numbers were decent, but they weren't Andre Vasilevsky like last year. Let's see. Tampa Bay. I can't spell Tampa, apparently.
He was still a .921 save percentage last year. The playoffs is where he struggled.
Yeah, the playoffs. Sorry. Let me redo that. Playoff Vasilevsky. Season, yeah, probably because Tampa Bay finished.
Yeah, Vasilevsky hasn't had a playoffs where he was .900 save percentage since 2021.
Yeah. So teams have figured him out in the playoffs. So that's the problem. He needs to step the hell up, or they need to have a guy that can come in and play goalie, because all you need is a goalie for this team to stop 9 out of 10, basically. Maybe steal you a game every once in a while, and he hasn't done that, obviously. If you don't have a .900 save percentage, you're not stopping 9 out of 10 shots.
Just shy of that.
Just shy of it. Well, that's the difference. Like,
yeah, for sure.
Edmonton would have a Stanley Cup now if they had a goalie that could have done that. So, like, Florida was really good, but I think Edmonton, if they could have just got a goalie, if Skinner could have just stole them like 1 or 2 games. Like just like you need to go out there and channel your inner UC marketing and just go out there and be like, we're going to game 7. Let's do it. We're gonna do it. And you're gonna pull them to game 7 with the third string goalie kind of thing, and you're just like, I believe we're gonna beat Carolina, and then you lose. But I think it's just you need a goalie that you trust back there. And I don't know if Tampa Bay trusts Vasilevsky at this point right now in the playoffs because, yeah, like you said, no spectacular performances in the last little bit.
But I think that's been like the whole Tampa Bay team, right? Like they all just seem like they had a great regular season as always, and then the playoffs lately, they are out in the first round. So,
Yeah.
I'm not
Well,
sure
Kucherov
what
is
that is. But how do you also blame them again when you're playing teams like Florida and and Toronto in the playoffs all the time? So I'll give some credit to Toronto; they have a very good hockey team. But you're playing some really good hockey teams in that first round all the time, right?
Yep. They beat the crap out of each other, and then the one that's left over is what won the Stanley Cup 5 of the last 7 years.
Something I'll tell
Oh
you.
no, sorry, 4 of the last 7 years. Because it was Tampa, and then it was St. Louis, or no, Colorado, St. Louis, I think, and then Florida. Am I missing somebody?
I
Yeah,
can't
but
remember off the top of my head.
I don't know, but basically this freaking Florida teams have just been winning cups like crazy. So it's time to figure them out. Yes, they get an advantage with the tax break, but you know what? We just got to be out there like the movie Miracle. It's like, you know what? They're the better team. Fuck it. We're the best hockey team tonight. We're gonna beat them.
You need a Herb Brooks in there.
We need a Herb Brooks in there just to give the speech. You know that
Yeah.
speech from that movie? Well, that's what I'm telling you right now. Let's get out there and do it.
They put it on the TV in the locker room.
At this point, that's what you basically need. That's like the Florida teams remind me, they're like the Soviet Union right now. It's just like you can't beat them. It's like the
Until
Florida
they get
teams.
beat, and then they'll walk off the ice and run away.
Yeah. So, yeah, I'm not fucking hate Florida and Tampa right now, but yeah, they're really good.
Yeah,
Okay,
can't
and
argue
then
with that.
the next team,
Moving on to Toronto. T-Dot.
Marner's
To
gone.
Toronto, like obviously everybody's EFF, Mitch Marner, has finally left. He decided to go to Vegas. But honestly, like, yeah, Marner obviously was a huge part of this team. But they brought in some nice pieces and they have a lot more depth now. Like after when they had Marner, obviously you had an amazing top 6.
Yep.
Now you got a very good top 9, top 12 because you brought in guys like Nick Roy, Dakota Joshua, Mancelli, and Scott Lawton. Like your roster is tough all the way through now. So now when you go into the playoffs, it's now like, okay, we just got to shut down Matthews, Nylander, and Tavares, or Matthews, Nylander, and Marner.
Nice.
Now these other lines can produce. Like obviously Nick Roy doesn't scream 30 goals, but he's a very good third line forward. Scott Lawton, same thing, absolutely solid. So their bottom 6 now can actually go out there and do some damage, and they're going to help out in the playoffs when things get a little bit more physical. They got a little bit bigger. They got stronger. Like I like Marner. I'm not happy that he's gone to Vegas because being a Canucks fan, obviously we're going to see him an awful lot more. But I do think this Toronto team is deeper and better this season without Marner.
Yeah, I think that it does help. It's finally building the team they needed to get past those playoff demons. But the only thing is now like you said, the team has changed now. So you can't go out there and score 6 goals a night and expect to win. Like they have to play. They're not going to be able to score 6 goals on any given night if they want to. So I feel like the scoring is gone down now. So you lose. Like I feel like you got Knives. You probably have Cowan coming up this year, maybe playing the first 10 games, I'd guess. But I don't feel like they're going to score as much this year. So like you're going to have your Austin
they're going to have
and Nylander.
the lower scoring games now, right? Like you don't have Marner setting up everybody to score. at 50, 60 goals again.
Yeah.
Um,
The one
but
problem
still,
is go ahead. Oh,
just
the
about
one
Mancelli, right? Like Mancelli, like yeah, he only had 8 goals last season, but the year before he had 17. So does this help jump him now that he's on a better hockey team?
yeah,
Like
like
he's
if
going
he's
to be playing
gonna
next to John Tavares most likely, right? And
yep,
John Tavares had a great season last year, and he took a big discount to stay there again.
yep. I think it's gonna come down to you have to realize now you can't score. You have to be able to win games 2-1, 3-2 at this point. Like
Yep.
if you're gonna go out there and play offense the whole time, like Nylander isn't the best two-way forward. He's a very good goal scorer, creates plays, but he's not the best defensively. And the one thing that a lot of people don't realize is Mitch Marner played top power play unit. Mitch Marner played top line for the most part, depending on if he's playing with Matthews or not, which he pretty much did. And then Mitch Marner played the top penalty kill. His minutes consist on being the player on the ice, basically for the top units for each specialty team in 5-on-5. So you lost that guy, so somebody else has to replace it. If Austin Matthews is now the guy is the one that's going to be targeted completely now. So like he's going to play more penalty kill. He's going to play the same power play and top line. Like you have to spread out that ice time more because you can't have those top players playing 20 minutes a night because Marner averaged over 20 minutes a night. Like that's crazy for a forward. Like that's higher than some of the defensemen. There's only 6 defensemen, and they have to have 2 defensemen on the ice at all times for pretty much the whole game, which you think. So it's like you have a forward averaging that much, like where those minutes go. So John Tavares is going to get more minutes. Roy's going to get more minutes. Scott Laughton's going to get more minutes. So they got to spread it out more. And Austin Matthews is going to be heavily relied on scoring. But you have to think that those other minutes are important too, that now they got to play defensive hockey. They can't outscore teams as much as they used to before. So that's the part that worries me about them is because like I guess you see like Max Domi, like is he a second line player at this point? I don't think he is, but if he plays with Tavares, but he's not going to score you much goals. Defensively, he's okay. Like, it's just like you're going to have teams that are going to start picking apart this lineup to the point where, like, it's like, hey, like, we can, our third and fourth lines might be better than these teams at this point. Like, because they might be stronger and tougher, but you got to have skill too at this point because I don't know. I feel like there's something that has to change with the way they play before this line's successful. So we'll see how they start the year.
Yeah, I think with Berube head coach too, right? Like it's different system than back in the day of Sheldon Keefe, right? It's definitely a more defensive structured hockey. I think Toronto's in good shape, but yeah, Domi, I would say definitely a weak link if you're going to put him on the second line. But they still have opportunities to move some guys around. Like there was lots of talk about Yarncroc getting moved for quite a while, and Nick Robertson possibly getting moved, or David Camp, right? Like, so they got a couple guys that could get moved around and maybe make room. Maybe it is Easton Cowan that stays on the roster, or maybe they go after somebody else that might be cut here in about 3 or 4 days before the season starts.
Yeah, it's either Cowan's going to play top 6 or go to the AHL. There's no way he's going to.
Yeah, he's not staying there to play third or fourth line. Like he's got to be up there. If he's playing some big minutes and he's a part of the offense.
And then Robertson too. Robertson's had a pretty strong preseason. Like hasn't been. It's like he's sitting in the press box on Puckpedia, but I don't know if he does. Like, and Camp's sitting in the press box. Like Toronto has a really good mix of bottom forwards. They're interchangeable, which is nice. But they
exactly,
do need
that's what I mean. Like they could still make that move, right? Like you put a couple pieces together to try and upgrade that top 6, and you're still going to have some decent depth in the bottom 6.
Yeah.
So,
but I think in my feelings, I think you're going to see Domi be expendable at some point this season because he's making 3.75 million. So unless he's scoring 20 plus goals and really contributing in the top 9, I don't think he's worth the money at this point. You could spend it better otherwise.
Yep.
But I understand Domi, son of Ty Domi, so just those ties, which I understand why, and they signed him there and gave him a 4-year deal. But but at this point, it's just like I don't think he's a top 6 forward at this point, and you don't want to be paying a third or fourth line winger almost $4 million at this point. So I think we'll have to see. I want to see how they play when they get into these games that they can't score that many goals. Can Stolarz have the same season he had before? Can Wall come in and step up?
Wasn't Bobby McMahon playing with Tavares lots last year, if I remember correctly?
He played some, yeah. I think it was mostly Tavares, Nylander, and then the other left winger was interchangeable. Like Knies was there at some point.
Maybe it's McMahon that goes there and move Domi down to that third line to where that's where he really should be, right? It's that third line.
Yeah.
And let that top line light it up with Knies, Matthews, and Nylander. I don't think if you go Knies, Matthews, Nylander, and then McMahon, Tavares, and Maselli, if I ever say his last name, correct me on that one. That's a pretty good top 6. And then you put your third line of something along the lines of like that Domi, Waugh, Yarncroc, or Joshua's in there, or Lawton's up there. Like, I think there's a lot they could play with, a lot of different lines. I haven't seen in training camp what they've been using, but they definitely have a lot of different options they can play with here. And we're not even talking about throwing Nick Robertson in there, or like you mentioned, David Camp. Like David Camp, it's a solid,
Cowan.
Or Cowan, yeah. Like these are some good pieces. They got a lot of depth, and they'll take them a little bit of time, obviously, to figure out where to place everybody. Losing Marner is a big piece. Like you said, he played on all the top units, right? Like he was on the power play unit. Correct me if I'm wrong, but I thought he was on penalty kill as well. Like they're gonna have to do some mix and matching until they find what works. But I honestly think Toronto is going to be a very competitive team once they do figure that out. And I think they are still going to make a move to try and upgrade that top 6 somehow.
Yeah. And one thing, too, is Nylander doesn't usually play with Matthews. Like, that's only on the power play. Nylander is basically Tavares' glue. Like, Tavares and Nylander were always playing together. And from a couple other people have talked, apparently Matthews actually refuses to play with Nylander on the line because Nylander isn't that good defensively. So he's kind of more of a liability in that sense. So they're always talking about, you don't see Matthews and Nylander because Matthews doesn't want Nylander on his wing, except for the power play when you're focused on offense. Yeah, if you look at Nylander, he's definitely a guy you need on your team, but defensively, if you look at his metric numbers, they're not like, they don't jump off the page. Like he's definitely more of a liability on the ice in his zone compared to the offensive zone. But John Tavares is the opposite. John Tavares is amazing in both a 200-foot player. So playing with Nylander, he can cover up some of those holes and gaps and mistakes Nylander makes to give Nylander more of a chance to create more offensively. And I think it just comes down to, like, maybe we see Matthews play with Nylander this year. I don't know, but I think it's Nylander and Tavares still together. I don't think they're going to break that up because it works.
Yeah, looking at like money puck, like lots of the minutes have been McMahon, Tavares, Nylander.
Yeah.
And then Knies, Matthews, Marner, where obviously Marner is now the whole. And then the other big one they had was, where did it go here? Pacioretty, Tavares, Nylander. So like a lot of like that, the pairs, right? Like a lot of coaches talk about having guys in pairs. So obviously Tavares and Nylander is a pair. Matthews and Knies is a pair. Now it's filling out that other winner on both those lines.
100%. I think it's
whether
just
that's like you said, Cowan, Robertson, or
Yarncroc could make it there. I think Yarncroc was actually really good last year. Yep. Just like I take Yarncroc. He was very good, especially down the stretch there going into the playoffs. Like he's not a flashy player, but he gets the job done. So I think that's a great pickup for him. But I think it's Max Domi's the weekend on the left side. So I'd like to see an Easton Cowan or a Robertson obviously get that left wing spot on Tavares and Nylander, because I don't think Domi definitely is not going to be on the left wing there at that point. He's going to be third or fourth. So, but yeah, I don't know. There's a lot of moving around
My
you can
prediction,
do.
after looking at all this, I'm going to go Knies, Matthews, Maselli, and then go McMahon, Tavares, Nylander. That's my prediction for their top six.
I think
It just makes
Marcelli
the
goes on
most
the
sense when
top
you look
line.
at the minutes from last year, right? Like when you look at those minutes from last year, it makes sense just kind of plug in that way. So
See, I'm going to say McMahon gets bumped down to the third line. And I think Robertson gets a chance there with Tavares and Nylander. I think Robertson's in a contract here if he wants to.
Well, he was last year too, though.
Yeah, but like he needs to prove himself at this point. Like that's the whole thing about the Leafs camp. They were talking about Marner, and the other thing is Robertson. What's he going to do? Like this is his year to prove that he deserves to be here. So if he doesn't do that, then he's expendable at the deadline too.
Yep.
And the Leafs will always look to upgrade.
The other thing we need to mention before we end this podcast is about Joseph Woll, right? Just came out, I guess it was yesterday or maybe the day before, about Woll taking a leave of absence. Now
I didn't even hear that.
Yeah, so Stolarz is clear cut number one, and they actually brought back. Did you see who they brought back?
Mr. Reimer.
Optimus Reimer is back. I'm a James Reimer fan. I absolutely love that guy, and I hope he does well. But yeah, Woll's taking a leave of absence. I haven't looked up to see how much more details came out of that, but they did bring in James Reimer as I think it was a PTO at the time. I don't know if he's actually signed yet.
They'll sign him. They'll sign him to a 2-way deal or something, so they can move him up and down.
But they did also. They still have that gigantic goalie there, the fucking 9-foot goalie there, Dennis Hildeby.
Yeah.
Massive boy, yeah. So yeah, James Reimer signed a PTO contract with the Leafs.
That'll be determined at the end of the camp.
Yeah. So last year he played 24 games and had an 896. Like obviously not stellar, but he was also playing for teams like Buffalo, Anaheim, right? So
yeah. Well, James Reimer, I'm glad Ottawa doesn't play Toronto until I think like end of November or something like that. Because I fucking hate James Reimer. For some reason, he loves playing in Ottawa. It doesn't matter where he plays either. It's in fucking Carolina. He just decides to play good every fucking time.
Yeah.
That's Toronto's downfall. I should have kept him. Just as a backup, just for that reason.
Just trying to quickly see if there's any details on Joseph Woll.
Yeah, I didn't hear about a leave of absence, so that's news to me. I saw that they signed James Reimer, and I did crossed my mind. I'm like, why did you guys sign him at PTO? It's like you have Woll and Stolarz, so I'm like, why? But that makes sense now. So
Joseph Woll taking leave of absence from the team to tend to a personal family matter. The team has made no further details provided at this time.
Okay,
and there's no timeline at this point. So
yeah,
whatever's going on, hopefully everything's okay. I was a fan of Joseph Woll's too, but hopefully he does come back later in the year and all's okay, and Stolarz holds the front until the time being.
Yeah, Stolarz has been great, so I think that and then didn't they just recently re-sign him too, I think, the 4-year deal, I want to say?
Stolarz, that I don't know. We'll have to look that up.
Give me 1 second. I'm pretty sure I just saw that it happened just here. Yeah, 4-year extension 2 days ago at $15 million.
At 3.75, yeah. 3.75 a year.
So they got him at a steal. So that brings him to 35. So then that's basically going to probably be the end of his career, or maybe get a backup role at that point. Because once you hit 35 as a goalie, it's hard to continue. Let's hear Officer Bobrovsky.
Or
Tim Thomas. Yeah, Tim Thomas. That was his prime. Was
that
when
was
he was in 35. Yeah. But yeah, I think Toronto will be interesting. But the only thing is the way how this team is built. If they can't figure out how to win games 3-2 or 2-1 at this point, like they're not going to score 6 a night. That's where they might take a step back to try and figure this out. So I expect them to still be up there in the top 3, battling for a spot. They'll be in the playoffs. I think they're a playoff team,
Yeah,
but I don't
Buffalo.
know. They're in that same group with Ottawa, with Florida at this point now. At Barkov out, the Buffaloes and the Detroits. It's going to be interesting. I think Tampa Bay's your top end team in the league. Like, unless some horribly goes wrong, I think Tampa Bay finishes first. But then it's just
Agreed.
a dog fight with everybody else except for Boston, probably.
Okay, so how do you think the Atlantic Division shapes up at the end of the season?
End of the season. So here's what my thoughts are. So top of the division is going to be Tampa. The bottom of the division in the Atlantic will be Boston. The rest, I don't fucking know. It could be anything. I could give you 10 different variations, and they all could be possible at this point. So
Definitely. Like what I'll make for my prediction, just so we have it on record, I'm going to go with Tampa, Florida, Toronto, Montreal, Ottawa, Buffalo, Detroit, Boston.
you have Montreal over Ottawa.
I think that's pretty interchangeable by a point or two.
Yeah, I don't think Montreal's going to outplay Ottawa this year, but we'll see. It could. It
You're
definitely could
biased. You're
happen.
biased.
I'm biased, but I'm also looking at the team. I'm just like, I feel like Ottawa has a way better top. They have a second line centerman to start.
That's fair.
So unless Montembeau plays out of his mind at this point, and he needs to if he wants to make Team Canada, I don't think Montreal's going to be third in the division or anything like that. Third, or I don't know. It's hard to say. It could be anything at this point. It's going to depend on injuries. Who gets injured, who has the better luck at that point with the injury bug, because like that's going to be the key role on who makes it, who doesn't. Because yeah, a lot of these teams are very similar. But I think the teams I say make the playoffs is Ottawa, Toronto, Florida, and I feel like I'm just gonna say it because I want it to happen. I think it's gonna be Buffalo. I think Buffalo's gonna sneak in there. It's such a weird one, I know, but I just for some reason feel like this is Buffalo's year to finally say this is our time, because I think they could. Like, Detroit has a better team, but I think Buffalo's gonna want it more at this point if Josh Norris stays healthy.
A lot of ifs there.
I know it
But
sounds stupid. You're like, you played Buffalo in the playoffs, but
I think
that's
that pretty much wraps this one up, eh?
yeah, that's pretty much it.
Well, thank you for tuning in to our breakdown of the Atlantic Division and catch us next time. Thank you.
Yep. Thank you. Have your own.